So this is a video for a slab wood outhouse, and I'm going to show you the outhouse right now. Completed at this point, except for a couple of finishing touches, and I'm going to go over some of the things we did to make this pretty inexpensively. The whole cost was about $300, which is not super cheap. You can obviously do stuff cheaper, but it was built to be a composting outhouse, which is a little more complicated than a standard outhouse. And the reason for the complication is you can just dig a pit with a regular outhouse, but with a composting outhouse, you want to build boxes to hold it in. So what we did first was we built a frame just off grade. We bumped it up with these rocks, built that a pressure treated, which was some of the cost. That was just plain 2x4s, and we just used enough and had very short spans. The spans everywhere are only maybe 3 foot at most, so 2x4 suffices for that. And then I had these leftover deck boards that I used that are pressure treated, so they were for the outside little porch here. And then inside we put spruce boards. I had some of these left over, so they didn't cost too much. And then we built just a couple of pieces of stick framing in the corners and along the edges. And we decided to throw that in just for a little extra bracing, so you can see all that there. And then what we did was we just put up slab on the outside. What we found was with slab, when you're working with it, you want to get these smooth cuts. You want to get these. There are other pieces of slab where the end and the edges are not even. Here's an example. So the edges fall away here, and it makes it pretty hard to butt them together. But no matter what you do, you're going to have these gaps. There's also a lot of shrinkage I'm realizing we had. So, so there's obviously quite a few gaps here. But then on the inside, I just found some pieces of plain slab. So stuff that was slab on both sides, and just covered the gaps all over the interior. Now, one nice thing you'll notice about this with slab is that we didn't need the extra pieces of stick framing on the inside here, because the slab itself with all these pieces creates enough durability. One advantage we have in this area too is it's quite heavy for an outhouse because it has so much heavy wood on it, and this is an extremely windy area. It's Shetty Camp, Nova Scotia, where we get 150-kilometer winds on a very regular basis, once a week in the winter. So it has to be built to withstand that, and a lot of that is just weight and a lot of screws to hold the pieces together. Now I'll show you the roof. This was an idea, is to let light in. Just use a clear roof panel. Now that was for 4 of these roof panels. This structure is 7 foot wide from across the roof span, which is about almost a foot wider than the actual, exactly a foot wider. It's 6 foot wide across there, and the roof tails out for shedding water. So, and just use these pieces of strapping across, 2x4s for the main framing, and then pieces of strapping across. I'm a little worried about snow load on these, but it's only less than a 3 foot span, 2.5 foot span. Put these on 16-inch centers right there, so I think it's going to be fine. I'm not too worried about it. This slab wood is larch or tamarack, which is very rot resistant. I just happened to have a friend who runs a factory making larch wood cutting boards, and got some slab wood from him. It was about $400 for 4 cords delivered, so it wasn't super cheap, but it's if you can use it as a building material, that's a very inexpensive wood building material. Now here was a little innovation we came up with for a 2-holer. Most people with a 2-holer have 2 seats on there, and then they switch the seat. Instead, what we decided to do was just create 2 plates, and then we just swap the plates. And the trick there is just making the plates identical, so that you can, so that when this one is taken off and move, it makes a complete cover over there. So yeah, a couple of the key points there are this. These plates on the inside, I did that on the inside of here, so the box is sealed as well. The material goes directly on the ground, and we just use sawdust or ash or dirt or whatever's handy and throw grass in there. We also throw our compost in there, trying to get a decent enough compost pile. It's been going for a couple of weeks now, and the outhouse has no odor at all. It's completely dry, which I understand is done by mainly just keeping the fecal matter dry. If it gets wet, it smells, and that's the reason we built this, is because the toilet in our trailer failed. We've been wanting a composting toilet, and so I had to sort of build it before we had guests in here. Our first guests didn't want to use it because they don't like outhouses, but that's how city people are. So anyway, these are the hatches I made, and this is probably the weak point of the whole thing. The hatches work pretty well, but they're made out of spruce, so they might rot out in a couple of years. I'm concerned about that. Anyway, that's the outhouse, and if you have any questions, just talk to me and I'll give you any advice or tips I know. I'm not an expert builder, so this is just something made up as we did it, but I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. Thanks.